Hello, you're watching Eye on Africa. I'm James Creedon. These are the headlines from across the continent this evening. Ethiopia is in the midst of a political storm. A powerful party in government has accused the authorities of arresting members of its Tigray ethnicity in a politically driven crackdown. Counterclaims say it's just a bid to stamp out corruption. We'll talk to our correspondent in Addis Ababa. And in Libya, authorities have forcibly disembarked scores of migrants who had refused to leave a cargo ship. That ship had rescued them before docking in the port of Misrata. Our correspondent James Andre is in Libya and will bring us the latest. And a reality TV show in Kenya with its feet firmly on the ground. The focus is on practical advice for farmers and it pulls in millions of viewers twice weekly. We'll find out why. Thanks for watching. Now we start this bulletin in Ethiopia amid tensions over claims of ethnically motivated arrests. The Tigrayan People's Liberation Front are levelling those charges against the new reformist Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The Tigray ethnicity and its political representation was previously a dominant force in Ethiopia for decades. Prime Minister Abiy has pushed through reforms that have upended hierarchies in the East African country. Recent arrests are part of what he calls a crackdown on corruption. Now, Tom Gardner joins us from Addis Ababa to discuss that story more. Tom, there are basically two versions of events here. For the Tigray, this is an ethnic purge. It's politically motivated. Yet Amnesty International has welcomed some of these arrests in the past few days. Is it just a crackdown on corruption?
Firstly, nobody really doubts the two institutions being targeted here, the military-run industrial conglomerate and the National Intelligence Service, have been the source of a great deal of corruption, and in the case of the National Intelligence, grave human rights abuses over the past decade or longer. So, it's absolutely right that those guilty are put on trial. However, I do think it's good that the government is focusing on accountability. As for whether Tigrayans are disproportionately affected, it's simply the case that Tigrayans have dominated the military and intelligence establishment for the last 3 decades, so in that sense it's no surprise. But, and this has got a big but, the whole process leaves much to be desired. The announcements of the arrest are followed by a coordinated state media campaign, including a documentary aired on various state and state-affiliated broadcasters, as well as a live broadcasting on some of the key arrests. So it not only looks politically orchestrated and clearly it does serve a political purpose for Abiy's Oromo wing of the government, but it severely undermines the prospects for a fair trial for the suspects. And I should add that the Tigrayan-dominated institutions have been corrupt, but they're certainly not the only centres of corruption in the country. And so to ensure this doesn't become an ethnic purge, I think Abiy's administration does need to turn to corruption elsewhere in the government, including close to home, in particular in his own region.
Now, what could further escalation in tensions within the ruling coalition mean for the stability of the country as a whole? We've seen lots of positive developments in the last few months, a peace deal with neighbouring Eritrea, exiled leaders feeling they can return to Ethiopia. Is that stability now likely to be, could it be shaken?
Well, firstly, beneath those headlines there has been an uptick in communal violence and instability in many parts of the country. 2.2 million people have been displaced by are currently displaced by conflict. And some of this, does relate to coalition tensions within the ruling coalition. And, what we've seen over the last few days, that's the theme of further confrontation between Abiy's administration and the regional state of Tigray, between factions within the administration, which I don't think is too healthy for the country. And ordinary Tigrayans certainly feel under siege. They're in a Cold War situation with some of the neighbouring regions, or specifically Amhara region. This is all likely to get worse, I think. So while the anti-corruption campaign, it's going to help shore up some of its popularity across the country for good reasons in many cases, it's not going to do much for improving intra-party relations, and in that sense may contribute to further instability.
All right, Tom Gardner there in Addis Ababa. Thanks for those clarifications. Now to Libya next, where at least 79 migrants who had been refusing to disembark a cargo ship have now been forcibly removed by the Libyan authorities. The migrants who had departed from Libya were rescued 10 days ago by the Niven cargo ship. Some had told journalists they'd rather die than be forced to disembark in the Libyan port of Misrata, where they say they had endured torture and forced captivity at the hands of people smugglers. Our correspondent James Andre has the latest.
On the one hand, this group of migrants inside the boat, 79 of them refusing to come out. They were armed with steel bars. They were armed as well with fire extinguishers. And on the other hand, well, the authorities on the shore and the port having created a wall around that area of the port with freight containers. And indeed, this morning, they actually decided to storm the ship. Now, we had one last message. We were in contact with the migrants on board the boat, and the last message we got was this morning at 11:15 local time here in Libya, and that message says the Coast Guard are coming and they have guns. Then after that, we could not get hold of the migrants anymore. My colleague Julie did make a phone call to one of the numbers we had, and someone else picked up. We do tend to believe that that was probably a Coast Guard who actually spoke good English and confirmed that the boat had been evacuated. Now, what we've been hearing from port security authorities is that tear gas and rubber bullets have been used to evacuate the boat. We also heard various witnesses from the city of Misrata telling us that they'd seen ambulances. There are between 7 and 10 people that were injured during that assault on the boat. And we have also been told by port security that indeed the migrants, those who had been hurt, had been taken to Misrata Hospital. Those who had not been hurt had been taken to a detention center, and they were facing charges for piracy.
Next to a series of deadly attacks in Nigeria carried out by Boko Haram jihadists, 53 soldiers and farmers have been killed over 3 days in the northeast of the country. This according to Nigerian security sources. The executions are thought to be a show of force ahead of February elections in the West African country. President Muhammadu Buhari, who is seeking re-election, has frequently insisted the group is near defeat. He faces widespread criticism over his security record, with soldiers fighting Boko Haram complaining of fatigue and insufficient supplies of food and arms. To South Africa next, where a respected minister who has been a vocal opponent of corruption has issued a stark warning. Pravin Gordhan is Minister for State-Owned Companies, and he says a probe into corruption risks being subverted by those who illicitly enriched themselves. Gordhan issued the warning as he gave evidence to an inquiry into alleged corruption during Jacob Zuma's time in office. Let's take a listen.
We've got to correct the historical wrongs that the majority of our people have been subjected to over time. And thirdly, as the Constitution eventually says as well, we've got to both transform this country and arrive at a situation where we say that we are advancing social justice every single day, if that is actually possible. Have we fallen short of that mission? Probably.
And a refreshing departure from the usual reality TV format, a new popular show in Kenya is putting the focus on farmers. The popular reality show provides crucial technical supports to farmers across the country twice weekly. It also broadcasts in neighbouring Tanzania and Uganda and is followed by over 5 million viewers per episode. Nicolas Germain reports.
Get better yields
and build profitable businesses.
We will see how farmers from across the region can benefit from our experts' advice.
This is an extract from the trailer for the Kenyan reality TV show Shamba Shape Up. It provides information to farmers on variables like volatile weather patterns and diseases that threaten their livestock and crops. TV has gained ground swiftly against radio in recent years in many of Africa's rural areas.
Most farmers in East Africa, they get the information maybe second-hand, from maybe old people, their parents, or maybe the politicians, or maybe the neighbors. But now we are teaching them to source the information for themselves so that they can change, because agriculture is also changing. It's not the same way it used to be.
Presenters and experts help farmers in each episode. The 45-minute programme is followed by over 5 million viewers in Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. It began 7 years ago, and farmers praise it.
The team travels to different parts of Kenya. They meet different people who are growing various things. If you follow the advice, you will never go wrong. You have knowledge and power. You can improve your skills.
Farmers can also ask questions, get tips via SMS and download clips through a digital platform. According to one study, 46% of its viewers have changed their farming methods since the show first aired in 2011.
And we'll close this bulletin with these images from the Senegalese coast, where there's currently a swell in the tide, much to the delight of surfers. Now, it's known in French as la vague de Wakam, or the Wakam wave. It's a seasonal swell, but not every year, and it sees high sustained waves that don't break for long periods, as they're protected by coastal cliffs along that stretch of the Senegalese coastline. Now, for connoisseurs, it's pretty much the ideal conditions for surfing, with those waves lasting without breaking for quite a long time. So if you can stay on the board for long enough, it's a good place to be right now for surfing enthusiasts. That's all for this edition of Eye on Africa. Thanks for watching.
France 24, 4 news channels in 4 languages, 430 journalists, 35 nationalities, 160 bureaus around the world, a global reach. 355 million households in over 180 countries can watch France 24. 61 million viewers watch the channel every week, and the numbers are constantly growing, with audience figures up by 31%. France 24 online is also forging ahead. Over 18 million visits a month on France24.com. With 45 million videos viewed online, France 24 is a leader on YouTube, while our 37 million Facebook and Twitter followers make us France's #1 channel on social media. To our constantly growing community of viewers, thank you.